Dead men tell no tales, but their ships speak volumes. Welcome to the Cursed Compass, where we explore the darkest maritime mysteries. Along the coral coast of Western Australia, fishermen still whisper about a phantom rowboat. They say if you navigate the treacherous reefs at night, you might spot it, a small, silent wooden dinghy moving without oars across the shallows. This specific piece of maritime lore is physically anchored to a massive 400-year-old crime scene discovered by modern archaeologists. In 2015, forensic teams digging on Beacon Island unearthed several skeletons and shallow graves. The remains were clear evidence of violence, skulls split by heavy blades, and limbs missing entirely. These are the victims of the Batavia, the site of the bloodiest mutiny in maritime history. To understand how this reef became a graveyard, we have to look at the exact moment the survival effort collapsed. In 1628, the Batavia was the pride of the Dutch East India Company, a state-of-the-art merchant flagship carrying over 300 passengers and crew. Her hold contained a staggering fortune in silver coins, intended for the purchase of spices in Java. It was this specific wealth that made the ship a target for mutiny before it ever left the dock. On June 4, 1629, the Batavia struck Morning Reef. The ship was torn apart, and 40 people drowned in the initial chaos. Over 250 survivors managed to reach a tiny, barren coral island nearby. There was no shelter, no trees, and no fresh water. Realizing the colony would die of thirst within days, Commander Francisco Pelsart took 48 people in a 9-meter longboat and began an impossible 3,000-kilometer journey to Jakarta to find help. Pelsart's departure created a lethal power vacuum. He unknowingly left the survivors under the control of Jeronimus Cornelisz, a man who had already been planning to seize the ship and its silver. Jeronimus Cornelisz was a bankrupt apothecary who used his senior rank in the company to seize total control of the remaining supplies and weapons. His first move was to isolate the opposition. He sent a group of soldiers to a distant island to search for water, fully expecting them to die of thirst. With the soldiers gone, Cornelisz and a circle of loyalists began systematically murdering the survivors. They claimed they were stretching rations, but their goal was to eliminate anyone who might oppose their plan for piracy. The killing quickly evolved from survival to sport. Over the following weeks, Cornelisz's men murdered over 110 men, women, and children. Beacon Island became a closed system, where isolation and desperation stripped away all standard social morality in a matter of weeks. On West Wallaby Island, the soldiers led by Wiebbe Hayes experienced a miracle. They actually found food and deep pools of rainwater. They were unaware of the slaughter until a survivor managed to swim across the reef to warn them about Cornelisz and the mass massacres. The soldiers prepared for an attack. They forged makeshift pikes from wreckage and built a crude fort out of stacked limestone and coral blocks. When Cornelisz's men arrived to wipe them out, the highly trained soldiers easily defeated them in hand-to-hand combat. Hayes's men eventually took Cornelisz hostage during a failed negotiation, just as Pelsart's rescue ship appeared on the horizon. The soldiers outlasted the mutineers because they maintained military discipline and collective resilience, while the social order on the other island collapsed. A race to the rescue ship ensued. Hayes reached the Sardam first, exposing the mutineers' crimes before they could board and hijack the vessel. Pelsart conducted trials right there on the islands. Cornelisz and his inner circle had their hands amputated before they were hanged. 2 minor offenders were marooned on the Australian mainland, becoming the first Europeans to inhabit the continent, though they were never heard from again. The Batavia left the Netherlands with 322 people. Only 116 made it to port. The majority of the losses were the result of systematic murder, not the shipwreck itself. The arrival of the rescue ship ended the killings, but began the executions, marking a grim conclusion to a survival effort that had long since become a war. Today, the wreck is a protected archaeological site and a premier dive destination. Visitors to Beacon Island today walk on elevated boardwalks to protect nesting birds, passing directly over the unmarked mass graves of the victims. The physical evidence being unearthed by forensic teams today continues to corroborate the 400-year-old journals kept by the survivors. The site stands as physical evidence of how rapidly a social structure can dissolve when isolated, and the resilience required for ordinary people to resist it.